All right, so today we're diving into a story about homeownership. Imagine you're in Carlos's shoes,
hmm
standing outside your potential dream home, feeling all that excitement and terror at the same time. Buying a house, especially for the first time, can seem like this impossible mountain to climb. But today we're going to unpack some serious wisdom from Carlos's journey from renter to homeowner, Mr. Grant Money's Guide to Homeownership.
Even the title is intriguing, Mr. Grant Money. That sounds more like a financial superhero than a real-life mentor.
Right, like he's going to show up with a briefcase full of cash or something.
Yeah.
But jokes aside, the story actually starts with Carlos feeling super overwhelmed. Even just going to an open house was scary for him. And we've talked about this before. That fear factor is incredibly common.
Yeah, definitely. Most people find the whole process of buying a home pretty daunting, especially if they've never done it before. It's like there's this fear of making a huge financial mistake, plus mountains of paperwork, all the jargon. It's a lot to handle.
And on top of that, Carlos is carrying some baggage from a past real estate disappointment. So he's extra apprehensive. But then, bam, he has this almost unbelievable encounter at an open house with Mr. Grant Money himself. I mean, what are the chances?
Well, running into a financial guru like Mr. Grant Money at an open house, that might be a little far-fetched, but it does highlight a really important point. Finding guidance and support is essential in this whole home buying process. It could be a financial advisor you trust, or a friend who's been through it, or even some really solid online resources. Having someone or something to help you navigate all the complexities can make all the difference.
And Mr. Grant Money, he doesn't waste any time with Carlos. He jumps right into the nitty-gritty, emphasizing that the first step, even before you start looking at listings,
Yeah.
is to create a budget. Not the most exciting part, I know.
Yeah, it might not be glamorous, but understanding your financial situation is crucial before you make any big decisions. Mr. Grant Money actually recommends this 50-30-20 rule. So 50% of your income goes to needs, 30% for wants, and 20% towards savings and debt repayment. That framework can be really helpful to figure out how much you can realistically spend on housing.
Okay, so we got the budgeting basics down. But then comes a real light bulb moment for Carlos. Mr. Grant Money starts talking about first-time homebuyer grants, and it's clear Carlos had no idea these even existed. It's like finding a secret stash of money you didn't even know you had.
And it happens more often than you might think. People miss out on these valuable opportunities all the time just because they aren't aware of them. These grants are offered by government agencies, organizations. They can provide financial assistance, often in the form of down payment help or closing cost help. So for you as a potential home buyer, knowing what's out there and what you qualify for is key. There are tons of resources online, and speaking with a housing counselor is a great way to find what you qualify for.
It's crazy how much money is potentially just sitting there, waiting to be claimed. But Mr. Grant Money doesn't stop there. He goes on to tell Carlos to look beyond the initial price tag of a home. He talks about the long-term value of energy-efficient features, like good insulation, modern appliances, things that might not be as flashy as a granite countertop, but they can have a huge impact on your monthly bills.
Yeah, that's so important. It's easy to get caught up in the aesthetics and forget about the ongoing costs of homeownership. You've got utility bills, property taxes, maintenance. It can add up so fast. So factoring in those potential savings from energy efficient features can make a huge difference over time.
It reminds me of when I first moved out, I got hit with this insane heating bill because I totally overlooked how bad the insulation was in my apartment. Lesson learned.
Oh, yeah, that's a common one. And speaking of things that a lot of first-time buyers don't consider, Mr. Grant Money brings up the importance of researching different lenders. Turns out Carlos hadn't even started looking into that part of the process.
Yeah, it's easy to think all lenders are basically the same, but there's a lot more to it than that.
Exactly. They have different specialties, different interest rates, different loan terms. Some lenders focus on first-time home buyers, and they might have programs specifically for them. Finding a lender who gets your needs and circumstances is essential.
It's kind of like finding the right partner.
Mhm.
You want someone who understands you, someone you can trust, someone who's in it for the long haul.
I like that analogy. Just like with finding a partner, doing your research and really considering all the options is crucial.
Okay, so we're at the end of their open house tour. And Mr. Grant Money leaves Carlos with a really powerful thought. He says it's not just about buying a house, it's about creating a home, a space where you can really thrive.
That's such an important shift in perspective. It's not just about the physical building, it's about the life you're going to build within those walls.
And that brings us back to you, the listener. What are your hopes and dreams for your future home? What kind of environment do you see for yourself? A place where you can not only live, but truly flourish.
Yeah, it really is something to think about, what kind of space would let you do all the things you love, connect with people, and just feel comfortable and at ease. That's what really makes a house a home.
Totally. And that's what Mr. Grant Money keeps coming back to with Carlos. He even mentions this thing about closing costs, which can be a real surprise for first-time buyers.
Oh, for sure. Closing costs can be a bit of a curveball. There are all those extra expenses on top of the down payment, like loan origination fees, appraisal fees, title insurance. It can add up to thousands of dollars pretty easily.
Yeah, it's like this hidden layer of expenses, and a lot of people don't realize they need to factor that into their budget. Mr. Grant Money also brings up something called mortgage points. Now, full disclosure, I'm not exactly a finance whiz, so this part always trips me up a bit. Can you break that down for us?
Sure thing. Mortgage points are basically prepaid interest. It's something you can choose to pay upfront to get a lower interest rate over the life of your loan. 1 point usually costs about 1% of the total loan amount, so it's kind of like a balancing act. You're paying more at the beginning, but you'll save money in the long run.
So it's like you're prepaying for a discount on your future interest payments. Makes sense, but it definitely adds another layer of complexity to the whole process.
It does for sure, and that's why having someone knowledgeable on your side can be so valuable, like a financial advisor or mortgage broker, someone who can help you sort through all those details.
Totally. It's all about having the right team to support you on this journey. Now let's think back to Carlos for a second. Remember, he started this whole process feeling totally lost and unsure. But after talking to Mr. Grant Money, there's a definite shift. He's got energy. He's got a plan. He's actually starting to believe that owning a home is possible.
Exactly, and that's the power of having the right information and guidance. When you arm yourself with knowledge and surround yourself with people who can help, it can totally change your whole perspective.
It's almost like Carlos went from wandering around in the dark to suddenly having a map and a compass.
Great analogy, and that brings us back to you, the listener. What's one small step you can take today to get a little closer to your home ownership goals? Even if you're not ready to buy right this second, any action, no matter how small, can make a big difference in the future.
For sure, it could be something super simple, like checking out those first-time homebuyer grant resources we talked about, or maybe starting to look into different mortgage lenders, or even creating a vision board with all your dream home ideas, or just sitting down and crunching some numbers to get a better handle on your budget.
Exactly. It's all about taking those first steps, building some momentum, and turning what might feel like a far-off dream into an actual plan. Remember, every journey starts with just one step.
And speaking of journeys, Mr. Grant Money leaves Carlos with one final thought that really stuck with me. He says finding the right home isn't just about checking things off a list. It's about finding a place that fits your values, your lifestyle, your vision for the future.
It's about creating an environment that feels good, that brings people together, and that supports your overall well-being.
It's about building a whole life, not just buying a property.
Exactly. And that's something I think we can all keep in mind, whether we're actively trying to buy a home or just starting to think about it.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into Carlos's story, let's leave our listeners with this. What kind of life do you want to build? And what kind of home will help you make that happen?
Yeah, that's a really thought-provoking question. It goes way beyond just budgets and mortgages
Yeah.
and gets into those big dreams and hopes for the future.
It does. It's about figuring out what truly matters to you and then using those values to make those big decisions. And yeah, maybe finding your dream home isn't as easy as bumping into Mr. Grant Money at an open house. But the big lesson from Carlos's story is that knowledge is power. Totally. Even if we don't have a financial guru magically appearing in our lives, we can still take charge by doing our research, finding experts we trust, and just taking those small steps towards our goals.
Absolutely. And remember, this whole home buying thing, it's a journey. There will be ups and downs, unexpected twists and turns along the way. But if you stay informed, stay proactive, and most importantly, stay focused on what you really want, you can navigate all the craziness and come out the other side, not just as a homeowner, but as someone who's created a space that truly reflects you and your values.
That's a great way to put it. It's not just about getting to the finish line. It's about all the learning and growth that happens along the way.
Yeah, exactly. And who knows, maybe you will meet your own Mr. Grant Money out there, someone who can offer a little bit of wisdom, or a nudge in the right direction, or just remind you that you're not alone in this.
Even if you don't, remember there are so many resources available. You've got tons of information online, workshops and seminars, and professionals who are literally there to help people achieve their homeownership dreams.
Don't be afraid to reach out, ask questions, and connect with other people who are going through the same thing. Having a support system is so important, especially with something as big and complicated as buying a home.
So to everyone listening, Whether you're just starting to think about homeownership or you're out there actively looking at houses, remember Carlos's story. It's a reminder that it might be tough, but it can also be incredibly rewarding. And with the right mindset, the right resources, and a clear vision for the life you want, you can make that dream a reality.
Absolutely. And remember, it's not about just buying a house. It's about building a home, a place that reflects your values, that makes you feel good, and that supports the life you want for yourself and your family.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Until next time, happy house hunting, everyone.